Hey guys, tonight, we're drifting down the Nile. Not the modern Nile with plastic bottles and tourist boats blaring pop songs through Bluetooth speakers. No, you're on the black mirror of the river as it looked 3,000 years ago, patient, and just a little bit smug about how much history it's seen. The moon's riding high above like a lazy god, and there's a warm breeze that smells like lotus, old fish, and roasted something you hope isn't lizard. You're not wearing your pajamas, by the way. You're in a borrowed linen tunic, which itches in exactly the way ancient fabrics should. And there's a boat, a big one, a floating palace, actually, all gold rails and palm leaf banners, with torches flickering against carved wood and canopies of silk catching the moonlight. The kind of boat that says, we conquered 7 cities just to pay for the Cushings. And you've been invited aboard for a very special dinner cruise hosted by none other than Pharaoh Neferker, a man whose titles alone take 15 minutes to recite, a man who allegedly hasn't blinked since the last lunar cycle. Lucky you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing where my stories land down now. Dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step aboard, just as the boat moans under the weight of another stone statue being lugged onto the stern. It's shaped like a falcon, or maybe a goose that lifts weights. No one else seems concerned. A scribe near the ramp gives you a nod, and that's apparently all the security check required. You walk across polished cedar wood imported from Lebanon. You heard a priest whisper that fact, like it was gossip. And your sandals squeaked out inside the banquet chamber, its opulence gone mildly insane. There are cushions taller than most people. Tables bend under clay platters stacked with roasted duck, honey-glazed locusts, and a suspicious mound labeled simply, Pickled River Blessing. You avoid that one. Musicians pluck away on lute in a tempo that sounds like a drunk heartbeat, and dancers painted in gold spin slowly, almost too slowly, like they're underwater or very, very bored. And there, on a throne that looks like it could conquer a mid-sized nation, sits Pharaoh Neferker. He's more eyeliner than man. His headdress gleams with lapis lazuli, and his fingers twitch occasionally, as if conducting music that only he can hear. He doesn't look at you. Not yet, but he smiles like he knows where you'll sit, which is exactly the problem. There isn't a clear place to sit. You hover awkwardly near a platter of melon slices, possibly the most normal food item here, until a eunuch with no eyebrows guides you to a cushion between 2 people already deep into their 3rd goblet of something very purple. To your left is a woman who may be a royal scribe or a very well-dressed ghost. She smells like ink and stress. To your right is a man in a feathered cape who introduces himself as Thutmose, the less, and winks like it's a threat. The dinner begins. Not with an announcement, but with the slow roll of drums echoing from the hull. Everyone stops talking. Even the air seems to pause. And then, the boat moves. Not just forward, but with a creak that feels like an exhale, as if the ship were alive and slightly tired. You feel it deep in your belly, like stepping onto a moving escalator in complete darkness. A serving girl places a pyramid-shaped plate in front of you, murmuring something in a dialect you don't understand. It's soup, green, chunky, smells like old mint and victory. You sip it politely and immediately regret it. Whatever's floating in there used to be alive and ambitious. Across from you, a man with a falcon tattoo on his bald head leans forward. Did you know, he says, with a wine-stained grin, that the last pharaoh to cruise the Nile during a lunar eclipse drowned in his own reflection? You nod, slowly. You will not be asking for seconds. Just then, Pharaoh stands. No one tells you this is about to happen, but somehow, everyone knows to hush. He raises his cup, a massive thing, shaped like a lion eating a crocodile, and begins to speak. Great are the stars, he booms, and greater still are those who sail beneath them. You quickly realize this is not a brief toast. It's a full-on monologue, the kind of speech that has footnotes and probably an intermission. You tune out for a moment, gaze past the velvet drapes, and realize there's no shore in sight. The city lights are gone. The river has swallowed them. You glance around. No one else seems to mind. They sip, they nod, they smile. A priest near the wall scribbles symbols in the air with his fingers, muttering a spell or possibly a dinner order. And so we sail, not toward glory, but within it, Pharaoh concludes, 15 minutes later, without taking a breath. There's polite clapping. You join in, half a beat too late. A trumpet blares, a crocodile yawns somewhere outside. Someone begins passing around tiny cups of something steaming. You accept yours. Inhale the scent. It's like licorice had a bad breakup with sin. Decide not to sip. Just when you think things can't get any more surreal, the musicians switch to a new tune. It sounds like bedtime for ghosts. The dancers return, now wearing masks shaped like ibis heads. One of them locks eyes with mask holes, and you get the distinct feeling you've been chosen for something, probably not good. A noblewoman begins reciting a poem about the moon's secret name. No one asks her to stop. You're pretty sure this isn't dinner anymore, it's performance art with snacks. And somewhere deep inside the ship, you hear a door open, not slam, not creak, just open. You glance toward the sound, but no one else reacts. You tell yourself, it's probably nothing, except that it feels like everything, because the boat is still sailing, and the stars above haven't moved, and you've got the strange, shivery feeling that this dinner was never meant to end. Not tonight, not ever. You're still clapping, or maybe you just forgot to stop. It's the kind of polite applause that turns into muscle memory, when you're not sure if the event has ended, or you've become a permanent feature in it. The Pharaoh has resumed reclining on his throne, as if giving a 30-paragraph speech about glory and eternity, or a casual warm-up. Servants drift through the room like silent ghosts, collecting empty dishes and replacing them with new horrors. In front of you now is a plate of something brown, shiny, and almost smiling. It glistens in the torchlight, like itself. You poke it with the wooden fork. It jiggles back. Across the table, Thutmose, the less, leans in with a grin. Ah, the baboon liver, freshly hunted from the royal menagerie, roasted in a fig glaze, served over a bed of regret. You laugh. He doesn't. I was serious. You glance around. Several diners are tucking in happily, even chewing with their eyes closed, like it's a spiritual experience. The woman next to you, who you're now convinced is a ghost, dabs her lips with a cloth embroidered with tiny falcon skulls. With a deep breath, you take a cautious nibble. It tastes like defeat. Not terrible, just deeply confusing. Earthy, yes, gamey, but also faintly metallic, like someone stored it in a bronze helmet overnight. You immediately chase it down with a generous gulp of wine, which tastes like grapes that went to war and lost. The babble of conversation grows again. You can't follow most of it half. The guests speak in high formal Egyptian, a language that seems to require twice as many syllables and twice as much smugness as necessary. But you catch fragments. Sandstorm delayed the sacrifice again, still arguing over which god invented cucumbers. Someone drowned in a vat of olive oil. Terribly efficient way to go. You nod like you understand, which is, let's be honest, a skill you've honed at modern dinner parties too. A servant sets down a new bowl beside youth. This one contains a pale grey stew, smooth and almost luminous. You decide not to ask, but then the man across from you slurps a spoonful and sighs, ah, boiled moon yam, the kind that whispers. You wait. You listen. No whispers. Just the creaking of wood and the slow, rhythmic slap of the Nile against the hull, then dash an odd sensation, like your skin remembers something your brain does not. You feel it before you notice it. The boat is no longer moving forward. You squint at the curtains. The stars haven't shifted. The torchlight hasn't flickered. Everything feels paused, but no one reacts. You clear your throat. Are we stopping somewhere? Thutmose shrugs. Perhaps the river has accepted our pace. Right. Very helpful. You lean back, feeling a strange heaviness in your limbs, the kind of full-body fatigue that comes after a large meal or during a very long Zoom meeting. Then, from the far end of the room, comes a new sound, a deep throat clearing, followed by an extended cough that sounds vaguely like someone trying to start a camel. It's the high priest. He hadn't even noticed him enter. Tall, wrapped in white and blue linen, with arms painted in symbols that glow faintly under the torchlight. He speaks in a low drone. Tonight, the winds carry a question. He intones a question shaped like a date pit and seasoned with blood orange. Everyone applauds. You follow suit. Though your palms are getting tired, the priest steps forward and holds aloft a tray covered in tiny bite-sized pastries. We must each choose a puff. Everyone does, reverently. It feels like a game, or a trap. You're not sure which. You pick one at random. It's warm and squishy, with a faint smell of goat cheese and destiny. You're about to bite when the woman beside you stops you with a touch. Don't eat the one that hums, she whispers. You freeze. It is humming, softly, like a bee trapped in velvet. You switch it out for another. That one only hums emotionally. So you take your chances. The priest chants something about renewal, or receipts, or the rising of the moon from the sweat of rites. Hard to tell. But then he gestures dramatically, and two large attendants pull aside a velvet curtain. Behind it is another dining room, smaller, darker, intimate. You're beckoned in. Everyone moves like they've done this before. You're caught in the tide, and find yourself in a chamber scented with sandalwood and something else, like wet coins. The walls are painted with murals of pharaohs past eating, praying, occasionally riding crocodiles side saddle. You're given a new seat. This time, your cushion is embroidered with scarabs. You try not to squish any real ones here. The food becomes more experimental. First course, something purple and gelatinous, labeled only as blessed marrow. Second course, roasted chickpeas in a sauce called whispering thunder. Third course, a single olive stuffed with you don't want to know. It tastes like betrayal. The conversation shifts. Now it's all philosophy and dreams. A woman insists she dreamed of a cat who spoke in riddles and demanded a toll to cross a mirror. A man recounts a vision in which the river turned to glass and reflected the sins of everyone aboard. You suddenly realize no one has mentioned where you're going, or when you'll return. You ask Thutmose the less, but he's chewing on a skewer of something suspiciously bendy and doesn't answer. Instead, the ghost woman speaks again, very softly. The boat only stops when the pharaoh sleeps. You glance toward the throne. Pharaoh is still very much awake, eyes wide, one hand stroking a statue of a beetle made from ivory and bad decisions. Great. You sip your drink and try to relax, but you can't help noticing a detail. There are no windows in this chamber, just paintings, one of which now shows a boat that looks exactly like this one, sailing toward a whirlpool of stars. You blink. The image doesn't move, but you swear the stars weren't there before. Behind you, someone burps with the gravity of an earthquake. Then, a soft gong. Desert. A new course is served, golden fig pastries, shaped like tiny tombs. You bite into one. It crumbles like time. Sweet, but also oddly bitter, like the chef had unresolved trauma. You lean back, lightheaded. The room spins slightly, or maybe the boat's moving again. You're not sure. The ghost woman leans in once more. Some say this dinner has lasted 1,000 years, she says calmly. Others say, it hasn't even started yet. You stare at her. She smiles. Her teeth are very white too. White. You look down at your plate. The fig pastry has reassembled itself. Neat. You decide you're definitely not asking for the recipe, because the stars haven't moved. The wine refills itself, and the baboon liver, still watching you. The fig pastry is still whole. You know you ate it. You remember the flaky crust, the oddly bitter filling, the way it dissolved on your tongue like sugar, whispering an apology. But now it sits there again, perfectly intact, like nothing happened, like it's daring you. You slide it gently to the far edge of your plate. That's when you notice the silence. No music, no clinking bowls, no laughter, murmurs, goblets being set down with that soft ceramic thump. Just Pharaoh. Still seated, still watching everything and nothing. His eyes don't blink. His fingers tap the arm of his throne rhythmically, like he's keeping time with a song you can't hear. And slowly, like a curtain lifting, you realize what everyone's waiting for. Another toast. You brace yourself, and sure enough, Pharaoh stands with a motion so slow it feels ritualistic. Two servants appear at his side, as if summoned by thought alone. One holds a scroll, the other, a new goblet the size of a decorative urn. He clears his throat. Everyone straightens. I speak, he begins, in honor of the figs that ripen without asking, the rivers that bend without protest, and the hearts that burn without ever showing smoke. You prepare yourself for a long ride. The second course, he continues, reminded me of our campaign in The chickpeas tasted precisely like the mood of my general the morning we lost 3 oxen to a bee swarm. You steal a glance at the diners. No one reacts. This isn't a story, it's a performance. Pharaoh begins a slow stroll through the chamber as he talks, goblet in hand, spinning tales so elaborate you're pretty sure he's inventing half of it. You learn about his great-uncle's obsession with measuring puddles, about a royal cat who was awarded a land grant, about a servant once struck by lightning twice and promoted both times. As the stories stack, you realize something strange. This speech, it's not just about food or battles or even boasting, it's about memory. Pharaoh is building a world from word-slurring smells, textures, dates, insults, and regrets into something almost solid. And as he speaks, you feel it forming around you, like the ship is growing larger to accommodate the weight of what he remembers. There's a pause, and then he says your name. You freeze. Everyone turns. Pharaoh points to you with a fond, almost pitying smile. And our guest of moon, traveler from the unmarked century, what say you? Did the fig whisper secrets, or only repeat the lies of last night's peach? Silence. You manage a shrug, and a week. It was a bit tart. There's a pause. Then, laughter. Huge, roaring, slightly too loud laughter from the guests, as though you've said the funniest thing since sandals were invented. Pharaoh smiles, a discerning palate. He says, we must test it further. He claps twice. A door opens. From behind it, servants wheel out a new table, covered entirely with tiny dishes, each one closed with a clay lid sealed with wax. Pharaoh looks directly at you. A game, he says. One of these contains a royal delicacy lost to time. One of them contains the tongue of my first advisor, preserved in rose vinegar. The rest are surprises. You are definitely not hungry, but the room watches you. Step forward, slowly. Each lid has a symbol. You see a bird, an ankh, a lotus, a foot, a beetle with very judgmental eyes. You pick the lotus. It seems the least threatening. You crack the wax. Steam rises, pale and fragrant. Inside, a cluster of tiny blue grapes, shriveled and shimmering. You pluck one. You chew. It tastes like childhood dreams you barely remember, like running barefoot through mud and thinking you'll live forever. Pharaoh nods. Ah, he says, the grapes of Kamenu watered once with melted hail, picked by blind priests. You nod back, not sure if that's good. Another guest steps forward, picks a dish marked with the foot symbol. Inside, a single sandal grilled. He eats it. No one blinks. You return to your cushion, stomach twisting in quiet confusion, and the moment your back touches the fabric, everything changes again. The lights dim. A hush falls. And from behind a curtain, a single flute begins to play. A soft, eerie tune, winding like smoke. Then footsteps, sandaled, deliberate. The dancers return. This time, there are only 3. They wear veils, trailing behind them like whispers. Their movements are slow, impossibly graceful. Arms that bend, like reeds, hips that sway like boats in shallow tide. But there's something else, something wrong. Because as they dance, they speak. Not aloud. Their voices seem to float straight into your mind. Do you remember the storm that never came? Do you recall the promise made over a broken cup? Will you walk backward through time? If asked sweetly, you close your eyes. You try to focus on the music, but even that begins to change. It slides from flute to voice, to hum, to a heartbeat not your own. You feel something press behind your forehead like memory, trying to rewrite itself. A hand touches your shoulder. You look up. It's Thutmose, the less. His eyes are clearer now. Careful, he murmurs. They're not dancers, they're questions. What kind of questions? The kind you answer with your soul. That's not helpful. You turn back, and they're gone. Only torchlight remains, only Pharaoh. Seated again, sipping slowly. You reach for your goblet. It's full again. You didn't refill it. You drink anyway. The wine tastes different now, deeper, as if it knows something about you, something you haven't told anyone, a memory you forgot on purpose. And that's when you notice something new. The boat is turning, subtly, gradually. Everyone leans slightly left. Outside, the river makes no sound. You peek through the curtain and see nothing. No shoreline, no reeds, just water and stars, stitched together like cloth. And above them all, the moon still full. Still too bright. Still, the same, exactly the same. Same position, same light. It hasn't moved. You check again. Nothing has moved. You ask the ghost woman beside you, what time is it? She smiles. Time doesn't board this boat. You sit back. You sip, and you realize, this cruise isn't about reaching anywhere. It's about remembering and forgetting, and remembering you forgot. Pharaoh lifts his goblet once more, to memory. He says, and everyone drinks except you. You just keep staring at that fig pastry. still whole, still humming. You don't remember standing, but you're standing. The fig pastry is still humming behind you on the cushion, and yet somehow you're 10 paces from it, being ushered toward a side chamber lit entirely by bowls of liquid fire. Not candles, not torches, just wide, shallow bowls filled with flame that flickers green at the edges, because of course it does. You look for Thutmose the Less, or the ghost scribe, or anyone who seems marginally less bewitched than you feel, but no one's looking your way. They're busy whispering over goblets, tracing the rims with their fingers, like they're listening for a message in the vibrations. The servant guiding you doesn't speak, just gestures toward an archway hung with shimmering beads that tinkle like dry bones. You step through. The room on the other side is quieter, cooler, smaller. The walls are covered with faded murals, scenes of pharaohs dining with gods, arguing over papyrus scrolls, and in one corner, arm-wrestling crocodiles. At the center of the room sits a round stone table, and around it, for empty cushions. One is for you. You sit, slowly, carefully. The stone table is warm under your palms, pulsing faintly like it's breathing. A shadow passes across the entry. Then, a woman enters, tall, sharpied, draped in linen, as pale as ash. She walks like a wave about to collapse, calm, graceful, and definitely dangerous. Behind her, a younger man, face painted half gold, half coal-black. He wears no jewelry, only a carved wooden spoon on a cord around his neck. He looks directly at you and winks. The third arrival is not human, it's a baboon, dressed in royal blue. It takes its seat with absolute confidence, places its palms on the table, and bares its teeth in what might be a smile. You glance around for a cue card, or a waiter, or reality. None arrive. The woman begins to speak. You are here, she says, because the soup invited you. The what? The soup, the mint fennel one, with the old ambition and crushed almonds. You drank it. It marked you. Marked me for what? The man answers now, voice smooth and amused. To speak with the oracle of extra appetizers. The baboon bows. Of course it does. The woman slides a small wooden tray into the center of the table. Upon it, 5 tiny cups, each filled with something different. One glows faintly, one swirls like a galaxy, one is black and still, one steams, despite being ice cold to the touch, and one smells like your grandmother's closet in 1996, which is disturbing on several levels. You may ask one question, the woman says, but first, you must taste. This is how it happens. This is how you end up sipping from mystery cups in a chamber lit by green fire, while a baboon judges your reactions. You choose the swirling cup. It tastes like cinnamon and heartbreak and the color violet. When you set it down, the baboon claps softly. The others nod in approval. Ask your question, the man says. The appetizer has accepted you. Your brain is a quiet panic parade. You blurt out the first thing that's been gnawing at you for hours. Why hasn't the boat reached the shore? The woman's smile vanishes. The man's eyes lose their mischief. The baboon sighs. Because the shore, the woman says, no longer remembers how to welcome Pharaoh. You stare. She continues. In ages past, the banks of the Nile would bend in reverence when a royal approached. But now, they whisper only to themselves. The reeds speak Latin. The fish ignore commands. The sand has forgotten the language of awe. You're pretty sure that's poetic nonsense. But also kind of not. The man leans in. There was a prophecy that one day a pharaoh would host a dinner so grand, so unending, that the very act of sailing would become the destination. No need to dock, no need to return, just courses upon courses until the world itself became desert. You blink, but that's unsustainable. The baboon barks once. You assume that means correct. The woman reaches forward and places something on the table in front of you, a tiny scroll, sealed with a symbol that looks suspiciously like your own face. You touch it. It's warm. It hums softly. You're not a guest, she says. You're part of the menu. Excuse me. The man smiles. Eventually. Not tonight, of course. But the pharaoh believes in slow cooking his fates. You swallow hard before you can reply. The flames flicker, and the baboon stands. He nods once and exits with the grace of a diplomat. The others follow. You're left alone. The scroll pulses faintly, as if encouraging you to take it. You do. The moment your fingers close, around it, the world tilts. Suddenly, you're not in the room anymore. You're back on the deck. The stars are directly overhead, still in the exact same place. A warm breeze ruffles your tunic. The scroll is gone. Your goblet is full again. A tray of unfamiliar pastries has replaced the fig dot. No one seems to notice you've been gone. Or maybe, no time passed at all. You turn to Thutmose the less. Did I leave the room? He blinks. You mean just now? You nod. He chuckles. Friend, we've all left the room. Some of us are still gone. Cryptic, but somehow comforting. The musicians begin to play again, this time, a low, lulling rhythm like a heartbeat underwater. A dancer glides past, trailing ribbons made of mist, or very convincing silk. The food keeps coming. The boat keeps sailing. And somewhere in your chest, the scroll is still humming. Like your body remembers holding it. Like part of you is still in that chamber, and still hasn't asked the second question, because the appetizer was only the beginning. The pastry on your plate this time is shaped like a beetle. It stares up at you with tiny almond eyes, and what you hope are sugar legs. You're not entirely sure whether you're meant to eat it or bow. You decide to nod at it politely and move on. The music swells again, swelling not like a climax, but more like a ripple, a pulse through the air that seems to sync with your heartbeat. The room is no longer just candlelit. The flames now dance in hues you don't have names for, colors that feel like half-remembered smells, or like how your pillow feels. At 2:17 a.m. you lean back slightly. That's when the boat lit hard, but just enough that your wine sloshes in its cup. People murmur. One goblet falls and rolls silently. For the first time, Pharaoh looks confused. Then you hear it. Thump, 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 do. MP. Something hits the hull. Hard. The music stops. Mid-note. Everyone freezes, except you. You're still trying to hold on to your fig beetle pastry, which is now sliding off your plate like it wants no part in this drama. Then, with a final wet crack, something massive slaps against the windowed wall behind Pharaoh's throne. A long shadow curls upward, a snout, a glint of teeth. It's a crocodile, a very large, very damp, and very uninvited crocodile, except ... No one screams. No one runs. Instead, a servant bows deeply and opens the doors to the deck. You stare in disbelief as the crocodile walks in. Torches flicker. Guests whisper. Musicians begin to play again, this time a slow, almost jazzy number, with a hint of funeral march. The crocodile stops in the center of the banquet chamber, shakes itself off, splashing a merchant's wife with a mouthful of Nile, and opens its jaw. A platter is gently placed inside. It closes its mouth, bows to Pharaoh, then turns and leaves the way it came. You blink. A lot. Thutmose. The less leans toward you with a grin. That, he whispers, is Senebet. You name the crocodile. No, he chuckles. The crocodile named itself. Took us 3 weeks to translate. You're not sure what's more unsettling. The idea of a self-named crocodile, or the fact that it's somehow considered a regular guest. As the doors close behind the dripping beast, conversation resumes calmly, almost as if nothing happened. A new round of food appears. Small bowls of pickled lotus root, fish cakes shaped like suns, and a jiggly purple thing that smells like distant thunder. You poke the jiggly item with a spoon. It quivers like a nervous intern. Someone across the room raises a glass and says, "To Senebet, the only guest who doesn't argue politics." The room laughs, but you're still looking at the doors, still listening, because there was something in that silence before the crocodile entered. Attention. A pause that didn't feel scripted. You get the sense that this dinner cruciate to know, as it claims to be, isn't quite as invulnerable as it pretends. You glance toward Pharaoh. He's leaned forward slightly now, his wine untouched, his fingers drumming slower than usual. A servant appears at your elbow. Your presence is requested below deck. They whisper. By whom? The servant tilts their head. The soothsayer. Do you mean soothsayer? No, I do not. You sigh. Another chamber, another lesson, another swirl of fabric and incense, and probably a baboon with opinions. You follow the servant down a winding stairway, carved directly into the ship's wooden ribs. The walls drip with condensation and hieroglyphs written in something that smells suspiciously like turmeric. You reach a small, round room, warm, smothering. A cauldron bubbles in the center, and standing beside it, stirring with a ladle carved into the shape of Anubis, is a man wearing robes made entirely of stitched-together aprons. He turns, his face is tattooed with symbols that shift when you blink. "You're late," he says. "I wasn't told I was coming." "That's what makes you late." You sit, mostly out of confusion. He ladles something thick and brown into a bowl and hands it to you. "Smell it." You do. It smells like cloves, sand, a faint trace of fear. "This is source of intention," he says, "used in the old rituals of taste. Each pharaoh had it made before any major conquest or nap." He hands you a spoon. "You'll taste 3 versions," he says. "Each one reveals something hidden." You take a bite of the first. You're immediately back in your childhood kitchen. But it's not just memory, it's like being there. You can smell your dad's cologne, hear the click of the fan, see the calendar with the tiger picture. You blink and you're back in the chamber. Second spoonful. You're in a city you've never seen. Heat, dust, a market filled with people who call your name but in a language you don't understand. You're taller, older. You're smiling at someone just out of frame. Third spoonful. You're in this boat, but older, wearing robes, giving a toast, and everyone is listening to you. You drop the spoon. The saucer nods, unsurprised. "It's not time yet," he says. But the sauce knows. He pulls a small scroll from beneath his apron and hands it to you. "It's warm. Again, you'll need this for the dessert course," he says. "I thought we already had dessert." He grins, a little sad. That was the prelude. Back upstairs, the air feels heavier, more serious. You return to your cushion. Your fig beetle is gone. In its place, a crystal plate, empty, waiting. Pharaoh stands again, eyes locked on you. His voice cuts the air like a prayer, shaped like a threat. "And now," he says, "let the dreaming course begin." The dreaming course. You didn't sign up for a dreaming course. You were invited to a dinner, a cruise, maybe a weird one. Yes, but still a meal on a boat, with food, with at worst a few eccentric aristocrats and one mildly psychic baboon. Not whatever this is becoming, and yet, here you are, a crystal plate in front of you, empty except for the tiniest shimmer like frost or stardust. Pharaoh's declaration still hangs in the air, the music now reduced to a single, low hum from a string instrument you don't recognize, vibrating somewhere unseen. The lights dim, not dramatically, but like a silike. The boat itself has decided you should rest your eyes a little. And then, from the ceiling, yes, the ceiling, a dozen translucent dishes begin to lower. They float down slowly on strands of glistening silk. Each one contains a different kind of delicacy. Some look like flowers made of glass noodles, others like smoke caught in syrup. One seems to be melting into nothing even as it descends. A servant steps forward, bearing a bowl so black it seems to absorb light. It is placed before Pharaoh. Then, second bowl faintly glowing is brought to you. "This one," says the ghost woman, who has appeared at your side again, "is only served once per dynasty." That's not reassuring. It shouldn't be. You peer into the bowl. It holds a thin broth, iridescent like beetle wings. Suspended within it is a single object, a pearl, except it's not solid. It shifts shape when you blink. It becomes an eye, then a spiral, then a face you don't recognize but almost do. "You're meant to drink it," she whispers. "Of course you are." You lift the bowl. It's lighter than it looks. You sip. There's no flavor, just sensation. First comes the wind, then the weightlessness, then you are no longer in your body. You're still at the table, but not. You see yourself from above. You see the room from angles impossible for your neck, and then the boat, and then the river, and then the river, and then you fall, not physically, but through thought, through memory, through dream. Suddenly, you're in a city, but it's not any city you know. The buildings are gold and basalt, towering like cliffs. The streets are paved with obsidian and sand. Statues taller than temples line the avenues, and each one turns its head slowly as you pass. People recognize you. They bow. Some kneel. You look down and find yourself robed in white and gold. Your arms bear tattoos in languages you don't know. Your hands glow faintly. You open your mouth to speak and a bell tolls from inside your chest. Then the scene shifts. You're in a palace, surrounded by advisors who argue about the proper spelling of sacred beetroot. A map is unfurled, one that shows rivers that no longer exist and borders drawn in melted wax. You press your palm to a seal, and suddenly another shift. You are sailing again, but not on this boat. on a raft made of bone and silk, gliding through a river of stars. There are constellations beneath you. You scoop one up, pit purrs and curls around your wrist like a cat made of frost. The sky is a ceiling, and Pharaoh is above it, watching, smiling, calling you back. With a sharp inhale, you jolt awake. Back in your body, the bowl before you is empty. The ghost woman is gone. Only Thutmose the Less remains beside you, sipping calmly from a cup made of onyx. He turns to you. Welcome back. Was that real? As real as soup. He shrugs. You rub your temples. Everything aches not from pain, but from having known too much for a moment. Like trying to fit a library into a thimble. You glance around the table. Some guests are sleeping peacefully, heads resting on cushions like contented cats. Others weep quietly. One man is writing on his arm with a fishbone, furiously scribbling what looks like poetry. Pharaoh stands again. He seems pleased. Some of you have seen, he says. Some of you have remembered. Some of you will not return as you were. A pause, and some of you will try the cheesecake. A wave of servants enters, carrying platters stacked with triangular slices of something creamy, white, and impossibly smooth. Cheesecake, but topped with pomegranate seeds carved into the shape of hieroglyphs. It smells divine. You take a bite. Your mouth says yes. Your brain says, did that just make me fluent in Akkadian for 3 seconds? You swallow. The lights brighten, and for a heartbeat, you think the boat has slowed. You feel it in the way your plate sits differently. The wine doesn't tilt in the goblet. The hum of movement is quieter. You glance at the stars. They haven't moved, but the boat has. You can feel it, just a little, a shift, like someone turned their head in a dream. You lean over to Thutmose. Are we nearing shore? He raises an eyebrow. That depends. On what? On whether the Pharaoh is truly hungry, he replies, or just stalling. That's not ominous at all. But before you can press further, a gong rings, not a musical one, but a flat, dull clang that vibrates in your chest. Everyone rises in perfect unison, except you. You scramble awkwardly to your feet, trying not to knock over your pomegranate cheesecake, or the cushion that still smells faintly like cinnamon and fate. Pharaoh speaks. We now honor the forgotten dish, he says, in silence. A single servant approaches the throne carrying a massive, cloth-covered platter. The cloth is midnight blue and stitched with silver thread shaped like stars. You can feel its presence, even from across the room, as if it radiates, absence. Pharaoh draws back the cloth. No one gasps, no one moves. There is nothing on the platter. Completely, absolutely nothing. Yet you can't stop looking at it. Your mouth waters. You feel hungry, and full, and sorrowful, and safe. All at once. Pharaoh says nothing. He covers the dish again. And with that, the music resumes. Low, sleepy, like the boat is rocking. A little slower now. You sit. Everyone sits. Someone begins passing out candied lotus petals. And in the corner of the room, very softly, a crocodile tail slips back beneath the floorboards. Still sailing, still night. The lotus petal melts on your tongue like memory. Soft, perfumed, bittersweet, in a way that makes you wonder whether you once loved someone under moonlight, someone who wore sandals and lied beautifully. You're not sure if that memory is yours, or if the petal just told you a story it overheard centuries ago. The boat rocks gently. The music still that low, sleepy thrum sinks into the wood, into your skin, into the hollow places between questions. It's so quiet you can almost pretend the evening is ending. Almost until the dancers return, but not the veiled, golden ones. From before. No, these dancers are different. Fewer veils, more feathers, and not metaphorically actual feathers. Long, dark, iridescent plumes sprout from shoulders, wrists, and hips. One has wings made of peacock eyes. Another's mask glints like obsidian. They move with impossible grace spins, so slow they look painted. Arms arched like hieroglyphs, come alive. And they don't dance alone. They pull guests from their cushions, one by one, softly, politely, inevitably. You are not exempt. A tall dancer with a hawk mask bows low before you, offers a hand gloved in silver thread. You hesitate. Thutmose. The Less sips his wine without looking. Go on, he murmurs. You'll offend the ministry of interpretive gesture. Is that a real ministry? In this context, yes. You stand at your hand fits into the dancers like it was always meant to. They lead you to the center of the room. where the mosaic floor shimmers under torchlight. The others are there, all nobles, scribes, even a servant or tool paired with these strange feathered figures. And then, without warning, the floor begins to turn. Just a slow rotation, like a great lazy sundial. The dance begins. You don't know the steps, but your body seems to remember. Spin, step, dip, turn. You move as if underwater, as if time is syrup, as if gravity has given you a pass for the evening. Your partner says nothing, but the mask tilts occasionally, as if amused or approving. Then, something odd. A shift. Not in the music, not in the dance, but in the space. You glance up and realize there is no ceiling. Only stars, but not the same stars. The constellations have changed, or you've moved. The boat is still sailing, yet somehow, now it's under a completely different sky. You don't recognize a single cluster. There's a blue sun low on the horizon, and a red moon swimming through vapor. The boat didn't dock, the sky did. You stumble. Your partner steadies you. Their hand is warm now, familiar. Familiar. You look closer at the mask, and you see your own face reflected, back a little older, a little sadder, a little more awake. You take a shaky breath, and in that moment, the music stops. Everything halts, the turning floor, the dancers, the guests, even the air feels paused. Then a voice booms through the ship. Not Pharaoh. Someone older. Deeper. Tired. Double quotes. The rhythm has spoken. It says, servants reappear, not gliding this time, rushing. They gently lead everyone back to their seats. The dancers vanish without a word. One moment holding your hand, the next dissolving into soft shadows and the scent of ink. You sit. The floor stills. Pharaoh rises, but not to speak. To mourn. He lifts his cup, places it on the floor beside his feet, and bows his head. The entire room follows. You hesitate, then follow suit. There is no music now, just the hush of silk on stone and the creak of a ship that no longer pretends to float in water. Pharaoh raises his head. We have passed the halfway mark, he says. The midpoint of memory, the turn between taste and truth. The guests murmur in agreement. He looks at you, directly, for the first time in a long while, and now, he says softly, it is time you saw the gallery. You don't ask which gallery. You simply rise when the ghost scribe appears again, at your side and beckons. You follow her through a door that wasn't there yesterday or even moments ago, down a hall that curves like a spine. The walls are covered in paintings, portraits, not of kings and gods, of guests, all guests. Every face is painted in exquisite detail, laughing, weeping, dancing, sitting, sleeping. You recognize some from tonight, others from something older, stories, dreams. Then you see yourself, not one portrait. 12 each, a different pose, a different version. One is regal, one is afraid, one is whispering to a cat, one is on fire, one is asleep in a bowl of soup. You stare. The scribe touches your arm. They're all true, she says, just not all at once. Which one is now? She smiles. The one you believe. You continue walking. The gallery opens into a domed chamber. Inside, hundreds of scrolls, some stacked, some floating mid-air, some scribbling themselves. This, she says, is the memory hold. What Pharaoh forgets, we file. You blink. So this dinner, all this, it's his memory, in part, and the guests. She tilts her head. Well, everyone forgets something. Eventually, you pause by a scroll that bears your name, written in cinnamon. You don't touch it. You don't have to. You know what it says. The room dims. You're escorted back. The dinner continues. New dishes arrive, comforting ones. Rice with dates. Bread with honey. A stew that smells like home. Even if you can't say where that is. Everyone eats more slowly now. No laughter, only soft, thoughtful chewing. The stars above don't twinkle. They wait, and you feel it. Something has shifted. The cruise is turning, but not toward land, toward something else. And somehow, you're not afraid. You're sitting with your bowl of honeyed lentils when you realize you're being watched. Not by Pharaoh. He's deep in conversation with a statue that's been steadily leaning toward him all evening, possibly from weight imbalance, possibly from divine intervention. Not by Thutmose, who has fallen asleep face down in a plate of pickled yams, and not by the ghost scribe, who has vanished once again. probably to file someone's inner monologue in a scroll labeled lightly anxious. No, the one watching you is standing just behind your left shoulder. You turn slowly. It's a man, or a priest, or something in between. His robe is solid black, edged in gold thread that coils like vines. His eyes are lined in kohl so thick, looks ceremonial. His expression is hard to read, half boredom, half purpose. "You've been summoned," he says. "Oh no." "Yes," he replies flatly, without amusement. "Come." You glance around. No one intervenes. It's as if you've become invisible to the rest of the feast. One moment, you were just another guest trying to avoid a fourth helping of roasted snake foot. The next, you're being quietly ushered toward a door, hidden behind a tapestry of a jackal playing the harp. He leads you down a stairwell, then another, then another. You've descended far enough that the wood begins to smell of brine and old parchment. The walls now glisten with a kind of moss that seems to hum ever so faintly, and you swear the temperature drops with every step. Finally, you reach a chamber. It's circular, low-ceilinged, lit by a single oil lamp hanging from a chain. In the center, a dais, carved with unfamiliar shapes. Around it, robed figures, 7 of them, stand in absolute silence. And in the middle of the room, a cat, a statue. At first glance, but then it turns its head and winks. This is not a normal cat. Its fur is the color of midnight under snow. Its eyes glow faintly blue. Around its neck is a collar made of turquoise beads and what appear to be fossilized mouse bones. It stretches once slow, long, and deliberate, and then sits back on its haunches with a soft plop. You don't sit. You stand in awkward silence. One of the robed figures finally speaks. "You have arrived." "I'm starting to notice that happens a lot on this boat." You mutter. Another voice chimes in. Female this time. "We are the cult of the petrified meow. Excuse me, the custodians of the eternal feline memory. We gather only when a guest has touched the veil of Pharaoh's dream and returned with crumbs on their shirt." You glance down. Sure enough, a lotus petal clings to your tunic. "I didn't mean to join anything." "No one ever does," says a third figure. "It's part of the bylaws." You sigh. So what happens now? The cat stands again and walks toward you. Its steps make no sound. It circles you once. Then again on the third pass, it speaks not with a mouth, with thought. You've seen echoes. The voice purrs in your mind, but not yet reflections. That sounds very cryptic. The cat blinks slowly. Good. It sits. "You are now bound by the agreement of the purring horizon," says one. "Of the robed ones, you must witness 3 reflections. Only then may you return to the upper deck." "Oh, come on. Can I at least finish my lentils?" "No." The lamp flares. And just like that, the chamber is gone. You stand in a hallway now. Empty. Long. Lined with mirrors. But not ordinary mirrors. They shimmer like soap bubbles, changing colors, textures. And each one shows not you but a version of you. The first reflection. You're older, wearing Pharaoh's robes, seated on the throne, giving one of those long, wandering toasts that involve soup metaphors and star charts. People nod. They listen. You command the room. But behind your smile, there's weariness, a loneliness that even honeyed wine doesn't touch. The mirror ripples. The second reflection. You're outside the ship, not just outside. You never boarded. You're on the riverbank, watching the grand vessel drift by. You wave once, and go back to your modest hut, where you prepare lentil stew and write bad poetry and feed 3 scruffy cats who do not judge you. You look content, unnoticed, entirely human, that the mirror blurs. The third reflection. You're not you. You're the boat. You feel every wave, every footstep, every echo of a prayer murmured by a guest trying to remember someone's name. You carry history. You cradle silence. You are the spine of memory. Then the hallway fades. You're back in the chamber. The cat yawns. You've seen enough. It says. The robed figures bow, and you are dismissed. Just like that. No ceremony, no fanfare, just a slow, quiet ascent, back, up the stairs, though now you only need 1 stairwell to return to the dining chamber, which makes no architectural sense at all. Back at your cushion, the lentils are gone, replaced by a plate of spiced almond wafers arranged in the shape of a scarab. Thutmose stirs beside you, yawns and mutters. "Did I miss dessert again?" You nod, sort of. Pharaoh watches you from across the room. He knows, he always knows. The music picks up again, now with flutes that trill like birdsong and a drum that beats like a lullaby's heartbeat. The lights grow softer, And just as your eyes begin to grow heavy, a new servant arrives, young, nervous, clutching a scroll. For you, he whispers. You take it, unroll it. It reads, "Next, the smoke." You look up. The ceiling has begun to fill with perfumed haze, not choking, not thick, just enough to tint the stars and pull you gently, slowly, into the next course. At first, the smoke is barely there, a veil, a whisper, the kind of haze you see after someone extinguishes a single candle in a quiet room where nobody's spoken in hours. It drifts downward from unseen vents, or maybe from the stars themselves. You're not entirely sure the boat has a ceiling anymore, or ever did you. Inhale, not deeply, just enough. The smoke smells of sandalwood, lemongrass, something ancient and floral-like, a bouquet pressed into a scroll and forgotten. In a tomb for 2,000 years, you taste it at the back of your throat. It makes your skin feel a little too awake, like you're being lightly tickled by memory. You turn to Thutmose. The less he's gone, so is the ghost, woman, so is most of the feast. The banquet table is now just a long streak of empty bowls, tilted goblets, and one plate with a single sardine arranged to resemble a hieroglyph you hope doesn't translate too soon. A flute drones somewhere, but it's not music, it's breath, not yours. You blink. You're no longer sitting, you're standing, in a chamber you don't remember entering. Smoke coils gently around your ankles, like an affectionate cat. The walls are lined with curtains, soft and crimson, trembling as if they're listening. There's no furniture here, no food, only scent, air, and a subtle pull forward. So you follow it. The curtains part soundlessly, as if moved by your intent. Beyond them, another room, empty, except for a brazier at the center, billowing more smoke. It shimmers strangely. You don't just see it to hear it. A low hum, almost like chanting. You move toward it, your feet making no sound on the black stone floor. When you stand at the edge, a figure steps out from the haze. Not Pharaoh, not a dancer, not even a baboon this time. It's you, but not quite. This version of you wears clothes that shimmer with starlight, their eyes are lined with gold, their posture regal, confident, like someone who remembers things without regret. They speak without moving their mouth. You followed the smoke. I didn't really have a choice. They tilt their head. You always have a choice, even when you think you don't. Especially then. You're me. In one thread, the smoke thickens. Suddenly, another you appears. This one looks tired, hands stained with ink, tunic wrinkled, a faint cut on one cheek, but the smile is honest, familiar, like the face you see in the mirror just before deciding not to answer an email. I'm also you. This one says, the version that left the boat before dessert. A third you emerges, wearing armor, eyes hard, fingers twitching like they miss holding something sharp. I stayed, they growl, and I learned what this boat really carries. You back up. This is a hallucination, you mutter. It's just scented smoke and a long night, and all dreams are real, says the regal you. They're just not always useful. The other two nod. Suddenly, the smoke swirls tighter. You're alone again. Only the brazier remains. Inside it, no flame. Just ashes and a single coin. You reach in. It's warm, heavy, made of something between bronze and bone. One side bears your face, the other, a map, but not of the Nile, of this boat. You trace it with your thumb. There's a chamber you haven't seen, a hallway marked Mouth of Silence, a stairwell labeled Last Meal, and faintly written near, the edged shore. You look up. The smoke has cleared. You're standing at the helm. No crew, just the wide, unchanging river in front of you, glittering under a sky too still to be real. Then footsteps. Behind you. Pharaoh. But, younger, or maybe older. Or maybe just tired. He stands beside you, says nothing for a while. Then, most guests never reach this part. What part is that? The part where they stop waiting for answers. You glance down at the coin again. What is this? He smiles faintly. It's a key, a menu, a reminder. Depends how you hold it. You turn it in your palm. It hums softly. The map fades. The coin softens. The melts, sinks into your hand like warmth. You look at Pharaoh again. Why the smoke? He looks back out at the river. To prepare you. For what? He inhales, long and slow. For the truth. You turn. The deck behind you is full again. Guests murmuring softly. Plates clicking. The scent of cardamom and rosewater drifting upward. as if nothing happened, as if no one missed you. You return to your seat. Your goblet is full. Thutmose is back, wiping syrup from his chin. "Welcome back," he says casually, as if you went to the restroom and not into a self-directed vision quest involving spiritual doppelgangers and dream furniture. You don't respond, you just stare at your plate. On it, 3 almonds, arranged in a triangle, each one etched with a different symbol. The first, a boat. The second, a star. The third, an eye. You pick up the star, it crumbles instantly. Inside, a tiny curl of paper on it, written in ink that shimmers faintly when you squint. Next, the toast that never ends. Your stomach sinks, because you remember Pharaoh's first toast. It never really ended, and now, you suspect, you might be next. Your almond crumble scroll is still tucked in your hand when the gong sounds. Again, not loud, not urgent, just, inevitable. Like a door closing, or a yawn you can't stop. The table stills, conversations fade to murmurs, wine cups hover. Even the crocodile, Senebet hood, returned at some point and is now lounging near the harpist, blinks, slowly, as if bracing for something ceremonial and tedious. Then, without fanfare, Pharaoh rises, and with him. So do you. It's not a command, it's not even suggestion, it's gravitational. You rise because the room needs you to, because he needs you to. He clears his throat, not a dry little cough, but a low, deliberate exhale that vibrates in your spine. "My friends," he begins. No one breathes. It has been several eternities, hasn't it? A few people chuckle, gently, like trained birds. "I would like to offer a toast," Pharaoh says, lifting his goblet, a vessel so ornate it could double as a tomb. Again, you glance at Thutmose. He gives a subtle shrug. "Just let it happen," he whispers. "There are only 17 parts. Cue freeze, 17 parts of this toast. It's historical. You don't have time to panic," Pharaoh continues. "To the river that knows no end," he begins. "To the stars that refuse to forget. To the fish that voted with their fins and lost their homeland to salt." And off he goes. You try to listen. Really you do. But his words blur into that syrupy, sleep-slow rhythm. He's mastered the kind of speech that tastes like warm honey poured over a monologue about inheritance taxes. Your mind drifts. You count. 3 people asleep upright. 1 nobleman is blinking in Morse code. Someone across from you has discreetly bitten the rim of their goblet to stay awake. The mark looks permanent, and you begin to feel the words. Not hear, feel. They crawl over you like a mist made of metaphors. "And when we harvested the grain beneath the dying constellation, oh how the donkeys danced." You're not sure what it means, but you understand it emotionally. Your eyelids get heavier. "And we praised the bread that burned and still forgave us." You see flickers behind your eyes, images from earlier rooms that might not exist anymore. A hand that offered you a scroll. A cat with a fossil collar. You blink. Suddenly, the room is darker. The torchlight is dimmer. The air is heavier. Pharaoh is still speaking, but now you're behind him. Somehow, you've moved without moving. You're near the throne. The audience stares at you now, and Pharaoh gestures for you to step forward. "This one," he says, "shall offer the continuation." Panic clutches your chest like a cold spoon. "Me," you whisper. He nods. The guests nod. Even Senebet, the crocodile, blinks once in quiet approval. You clear your throat. A servant hands you a goblet. You don't remember lifting it, but now it's in your hand, and you begin. Somehow, double quotes, "to the honey that flows uphill." People nod. "To the sand that dreams of being water." Polite homes ripple through the chamber. "To the boats that sail without oars, and to the nights that forget to become morning." A pause. Then applause. Gentle, respectful, as if everyone agrees that your impromptu surrealist speech was better than the last eclipse viewing. Pharaoh smiles. Well spoken. You exhale carefully. Someone hands you a plate. It's blank, until you blink. Then, words, an invitation, a warning, a poem. Those who toast must taste. Those who speak must sip. Those who hear must carry. You look up. Everyone is watching you, waiting. So you sit. You drink. You taste. Stars. Not metaphorically. Actual constellations, crushed and stirred into nectar. You feel the weight of them behind your eyes. Little sparks flickering along your spine. One of them sings the first song you ever loved. Another whispers the name of a friend you haven't spoken to in years. You open your mouth to ask something, but the room is gone again. You're not even on the boat. You're in a hall made of mirrors. Again, except this time you're not alone. There are others, hundreds, thousands, all seated, each one raising a cup, all toasting, each facing their own reflection. And in every reflection, you older, younger, wiser, funnier, lonelier, kinder, every version holds your gaze for a moment, before lifting their cup and whispering something. You can't hear the words, but you feel them. Blessings, warnings, reminders. You close your eyes. When you open them, you're back. The table is full. The food is gone. The plates are clean. The guests look a little older, softer. Thutmose pats your shoulder. Nice toast, he says. I blacked out in the middle. That's usually the best part. The music resumes strings now, soft and tired, like someone plucking an old memory by candlelight. Pharaoh doesn't speak again. He just raises his cup. You raise yours in reply. The stars above you hum with approval, and the boat drifts on quietly, gently, eternally. You are not entirely certain whether the toast ever ended. Pharaoh sat. People exhaled. The goblets emptied themselves, or perhaps your hands just got tired. No one clapped. No one nodded. It simply faded, the way dreams do, or daylight at the end of a lazy afternoon, smooth, silent, inevitable. But something is different. Now the feast has changed, so has the boat. Gone are the colorful fruits, the absurd stews, the comedic portions of jellyfish, arranged like philosophical riddles. The food now comes in quiet, colors pale, white, beige, the kind of soft neutrals you associate with hospitals or memory foam. And the guests, they're softer too, leaning inward when they speak, hands moving more slowly. One noblewoman absent-mindedly brushes the rim of her goblet, as if trying to remember what wine tastes like. A man down the table chews a date for the third time and still hasn't swallowed. You sit in this gentle strangeness, drifting into stillness. When a servant approaches with a scroll, another one, you don't even question it anymore. This one is already unrolled. The ink gleams faintly. The gallery of tastes has opened. Do not arrive hungry. Do not arrive full. Do not arrive alone. You blink. Excuse me, but the servant is already gone. Of course they are. You glance toward Thutmose, who's carefully building a tiny pyramid out of peeled grapes. I have to go, you mutter. Don't we all? He replies, not looking up. Be careful. Don't touch the saffron tapestries. Why? He pauses. They remember insults. You leave. The boat seems quieter as you make your way through its corridors, less alive, less self-satisfied. The torches no longer flicker with mischievous shadows. The tapestries are subdued. One of them sighs as you pass. You reach a chamber you've never seen. The gallery of tastes. The doors are bone white, carved with images of mouths in various states, smiling, yawning, whispering, biting. The air smells of flour and ozone. Inside, it is silent. A long hallway stretches ahead, lined with small alcoves. Each alcove holds a single dish. Each dish rests on velvet. Each one has a label. You approach the first grief. Stewed in cinnamon, a tiny bowl, pale red. You sniff. Smells like a story your grandfather told once about a cousin who vanished in a flood. You never met that cousin, but you still remember the way your grandfather's voice caught when he said her name. You pass it. The next dish. Laughter, pickled in brine, served in a cracked jar. It chuckles softly when you touch the rim. You dip a finger. Taste. It's sour, bright, sharp as a joke you didn't see coming. You smile, then you frown, then you walk on. Loneliness, slow roasted with rosemary. This one breaks your heart. You don't eat it. You keep going. On and on. Dishes of emotion, memory, longing. First kiss, seared with garlic. Jealousy, chilled on a stone plate. Ambition, served with bone marrow and regret. You don't taste them all. You couldn't, but you know them. Each bite, each scent, each dish hits like a truth you weren't ready for, but recognize instantly. Then you reach the final alcove that it holds. A glass dome. Inside, a single piece of flatbread. Simple, ordinary, no label, just a card that reads, if you eat this, you may remember the thing you forgot on purpose. You stare at it. You stare a long time. Then, without knowing why, you lift the dome. You break off a corner. You chew. The flavor is nothing. Then, everything. You're not on the boat. You're not in this room. You're 5 years old. You're in a sunlit kitchen. Someone's humming. There's a bowl of warm dough rising on the counter, and someone says your name, not the name people call you now, the real one, the one you left behind. You inhale sharply, your back, still chewing, still tasting, still shaking, and a figure is there. Now, not Pharaoh, not a guest, not even the cat. It's you, the one from before, the dream version, the reflection, the face you might become. They don't speak, they just reach out and gently touch your forehead. The world tilts. Suddenly, the entire gallery shimmers, walls dissolve, dishes vanish. You're no longer in the hallway. You're back, at the table, and everyone's looking at you. You blink, your goblet is full. Pharaoh raises his own, says nothing, just waits. You raise yours, drink, and this time, the wine tastes like quiet, understanding, like closure, like something is ending, and something else is beginning. The stars are lower now, the river is darker, the boat still glides forward, but the current feels more certain, and somewhere beneath the deck, you swear you hear Senebet the crocodile singing softly. When the goblet leaves your lips, the silence that follows is not empty, it is full of things not said, of breath not taken, of the pause that comes after someone you love says something they didn't mean, and you don't know what to say next. The stars no longer sparkle, they hover, closer now, as if the sky has dropped a little, like a lazy ceiling coming in for a nap. The boat doesn't rock anymore, it glides, smooth, certain as though it knows. You don single quotes. Pharaoh sets down his goblet with a soft chime that makes your jaw tighten. Everyone flinches slightly, but not from fear, from anticipation, as if they all sense it now, the tension winding, tighter in the air like a knot in silk. You shift in your seat. There's a new weight beneath your cushion. You reach down and find a small folded cloth. It's embroidered with a symbol, a fork, crossed with a scepter. Classic royal cutlery. Inside, a scroll. You already know what it says. The map was never about the route. The map is the meal. You have one more flavor left. Come, no signature. No direction. But you already feel your legs moving. No one stops you. You walk through an archway that did not exist a moment ago. Past the servers, who bow without expression. Past the dancers, who now stand frozen in poses like statues awaiting their sculptor's return. You descend again. Not the familiar stairwells. Not the ones etched in turmeric or memory. This one is carved from salt. The air is damp. The walls hum with stories you don't want to hear. You reach a door. It breathes. Open. Inside is darkness, but not the empty kind. The thick kind. The kind that feels warm. The kind that smells faintly of cardamom and closure. A table waits at the center. A single seat. You sit. You don't remember choosing to. On the table, a plate. Empty. Then a candle lights. Without flame it just becomes lit. A man enters, not Pharaoh, but a face that might have once belonged to him, or will, or does on Thursdays. He's wearing a robe made of paper napkins and golden thread. He sets a bowl before you. You peer in. It is soup. Ordinary. Steam rising gently. A faint glimmer of green. Specks of lentil. Something floating that looks like a memory shaped like a leaf. You know what this is, he says. I don't. You do. You inhaled. It smells like a night spent awake. A letter never sent. The comfort of a lie you've forgiven. You pick up the spoon. You eat. And it is warm, not just hot warm. In your stomach, your fingertips, the hollow part behind your ribs. That always aches when someone says, remember when. You finish it. The bowl is full again. You eat again. Each time, it tastes slightly different. A joke told once too often. A sunrise that felt too short. The first time someone said your name, and meant it. On the fifth spoonful, the man says, you don't have to keep going. I do. You reply, why? You pause then. Because I'm not full yet. He smiles, and sets a small vial beside the bowl. Inside, smoke. Not from a fire, from something burned inside. A dream. You unstop it. Inhale, and suddenly, you are on the boat again. Not walking, not sitting. Being. Part of the floor. Part of the sail. Part of the lull between spoon and story. Guests blur around. You faces like ripples, gestures like folded letters. The feast is quieter now. No more baboons. No more dancing masks. Even Senebet is asleep, wrapped around a jug of wine and lightly snoring through his teeth. Thutmose looks older, or maybe just done. He glances at you. You went farther than most. I had no map. Exactly. He offers you a slice of bread. Except, it tastes like silence, not absence, just peace. Pharaoh doesn't speak anymore. He just watches eyes. Soft, tired, grateful. You watch the stars, you feel them watching back, and you realize the boat was never heading toward shore. The boat is the shore. It carries what must not be. Dropped, stories, leftovers. The taste of things no longer available on any menu. And you are a course, a flavor, a name scratched onto the back of a spoon. The music fades in again, soft, stringed, a lullaby for something older than memory. And beneath your breath, without meaning to, you whisper, "I'm ready." No one responds, but everyone hears. There is a kind of silence that only happens near the end of a meal, not the sharp silence of hunger, not the sociable hush between courses, but that deep stillness that settles in when everyone knows there's nothing more to be served. And yet, no one wants to stand. Kind of silence that smells like spiced nuts and nostalgia. You're there now, not full, not empty, settled. The table around you is tidier than it's ever been. Goblets remain upright. Bowls no longer refill themselves. Platters, once dramatic displays of culinary ego, now sit calmly, modestly, like they've told their best stories and are happy to fade. Pharaoh doesn't move, not because he's asleep, though he could be, but because movement would break something, and everyone feels that. Even Senebet, the crocodile, lifts only one lazy eyelid before resuming his performance of decorative reptile, deep in digestive thought. Then, a sound, low, not a gong this time, not a whisper, not a chime, a drone, a slow, humming note that pulses through your teeth. You turn toward its source. At the far end of the chamber, a panel in the wall slides open without ceremony. Behind it, darkness, but soft, glowing like candlelight filtered through time. A priest appears. You don't know him, but he knows you. He nods once. No words, just that quiet yes, it's time kind of look. You rise. Your chair doesn't squeak. Your napkin folds itself. The priest beckons. You follow. The corridor beyond is narrow and warm, lined with reeds and cloth. There's a scent of cinnamon, lemon peel, and something else, something faintly electric. The priest doesn't walk quickly. He knows you'll follow, and you do. You reach a chamber, round, still, at the center, a pedestal, upon it, a scroll, but not sealed, already open, already read. Your name is at the top, and below it, a list. It's long. Every flavor you've tasted, every dish you declined, every time you raised your goblet and chose not to speak. And then, near the bottom, unfinished, question not asked, door not opened, eclipse not witnessed. You feel your breath catch, then you hear it. Footsteps, dozens, hundreds, not approaching but surrounding. You turn and realize you are not alone in this memory. All the guests from all the dinners, from all the nights, they are here, flickering at the edges of the room. Not ghosts, not quite, just remembered presences, and they're watching you, not with judgment, but with expectation. The priest gestures toward the pedestal. You approach. The scroll pulses faintly, as though waiting for your hand. You place your palm on it, and the room vanishes. No wind, no flash, just absence, then light. You are outside, on the deck beneath a sky that has finally changed. The stars are no longer frozen. The constellations have shifted. The moon, once a constant silver coin, now wobbles slightly. As it dips toward the west, the boat is slowing for the first time. You feel it, not just gliding, but easing, and along the edges of the horizon you see it. Shore, faint, distant, but there you turn. Pharaoh stands behind you. No throne, no crown, just robes, and a tired, soft smile. You saw the scroll. You nod. I still don't know the question, you admit. He looks toward the horizon. It was never about knowing. You wait. He continues. It was about wanting to ask it anyway. A pause. He reaches into his robe, produces something wrapped in silk, places it in your hands. You open it. It's a spoon. Simple, wooden, worn, carved with a single word. Again, you don't understand, but you do. Somewhere behind you, music begins again, not from musicians, from the boat itself. Creaking wood, wind in sails, water against hull. All tuned perfectly to the key of farewell. The shore gets closer. The air smells like papyrus and citrus and closure, and you finally know. This dinner was not a delay, not a trap, not a test. It was remembrance and rehearsal for leaving and for arriving at once. The spoon in your hand feels warmer than it should, not hot, not divine, just warm the way a favorite blanket is, or the pocket of a coat that still smells like your old apartment. Comforting in a way that suggests you've held this before, maybe not this exact spoon, but something like it, in another time. Another version of yourself. You tuck it into your sleeve, not because someone told you to, but because that's what feels right. The shoreline grows nearer. You don't remember the boat turning, it just began to drift with intent. The water is darker now, like velvet dusted with crushed pearls. Stars reflect on its surface like distant memories, lining up to say goodbye. You are standing at the bow. Pharaoh has returned to his seat not because he's done, but because he understands this part isn't about him. The other guests seem quieter now. Some are humming, some are praying. One man near the end of the table is carefully tying little knots into his napkin, like he's sealing up secrets. Thutmose appears beside you, blinking in the moonlight. You made it to the second to last course, he says softly. I didn't know there were courses in existence itself. He chuckles. Existence is a meal. Most people just skip the chewing. He offers you a piece of candied fig. You take it. It's sweet, almost heartbreakingly so. You whisper, is this the end? No, Thutmose says. It's the palate cleanser. A gust of wind swirls the boat's banners. One of them bears your name now, woven into the fabric, like it's always been there. You don't remember seeing it earlier. But then again, this version of the night has only just arrived. There's a low, reverent chant coming from below deck, soft, round, that as if being sung by mouths that don't need language anymore. It grows louder. A figure emerges from the stairwell. Not Pharaoh, not a priest, you again, older, different, you don't even blink now. Just nod, this version of you carries a platter, silver, delicately engraved, balanced, easily in one hand. They walk toward the center of the deck and place the platter on a low altar draped in deep, blue cloth. Then they step back into the shadows. You approach on the platter, a cup, no decoration, no handle, just a cup filled to the rim with something dark, warm, and still. Pharaoh stands again. His voice is lower now, rougher, like the bottom of a wooden drawer. You have reached the final flavor. He doesn't say what it is. You pick up the cup. It smells like earth after rain, and ash, and something almost, citrus. You drink, slowly, not because you're afraid, because you understand now this taste is memory not yours, but collective. It's the flavor of every goodbye ever spoken, ever left unsaid. It is the warmth of the hand you never got to hold again, the softness of the final page in a book you didn't want to end. The weight of gratitude so deep you couldn't say thank you without crying, and as you finish the last drop the world breathes in, so do you. A pulse rolls through the boat, gentle, like it just remembered its own heartbeat. Pharaoh bows, to you, and, behind him, the guests rise, one by one, not to clap, but to witness. You've completed the meal, you've spoken the toast, you've walked the galleries and swallowed the smoke. You are no longer simply a guest. You are now a part of the feast, and the feast remembers. Thutmose leans in once more. There's one last thing, he whispers. You wait. He pulls something from his sleeve, a small folded piece of parchment. On it, a single line. Your seat is waiting. On the next boat. You blink, but before you can speak, the boat slows, fully, finally. You hear birds, crickets, a breeze that smells like herbs and open windows. The shore is real, close, solid, for the first time. The stars blink and wink. You smile. The world is tilting again. Not in confusion, but in invitation. The gangplank lowers with a sigh. The guests begin to rise. Some step off, some stay behind, not because they're stuck, because they're not finished. Yet you look to Pharaoh. He nods. You step forward, one foot on the gangplank. The river quiet, the night warm. The wind gentle in your ears, like an old lullaby says, almost there. The gangplank sighs under your foot, not in protest, in relief. The river laps gently at the hull, whispering encouragement. The boat, which has been your banquet hall, your theater, your memory palace, for what feels like forever, exhales softly, as if to say, you've done enough. You pause at the edge of the deck. The shore ahead is still dim, still dreamlike. A strip of sand brushed with moonlight, framed by palm shadows and silence. No trumpets, no gates, no triumphant banners saying welcome back. Just earth, still, patient, behind you. Someone clears their throat. You turn. It's Pharaoh, but smaller now. Not in stature, but in presence. As if the longer the boat floated, the more of himself he gave away. He steps toward you, holding a scroll. This one isn't glowing. It isn't humming. It's tied with a simple cord made from twine and reed. This is yours, he says. You take it. The cord unties itself. The parchment unrolls. It's blank. You look up, confused. Pharaoh smiles. You haven't written it yet. You nod slowly. The kind of nod that means I understand even if I don't. The kind of nod people give each other at airports, or at funerals, or on mountaintops, where the air makes words feel unnecessary. Behind him, the guests have gathered on the deck, no longer eating, no longer performing, just watching. Some offer you small nods. One woman mouths the word safe. Thutmose waves with a sleepy grin, already holding a tray of what might be symbolic pears. He lifts a goblet in salute and says, "Next time, I'm letting you handle the toast." You smile, and take the final step onto the shore. The sand is cool, soft, real. The boat creaks behind you. Then stillness, not a haunting stillness, not eerie, just complete. You look out over the water one last time. Pharaoh is back in his throne. Senebet, the crocodile, is curled, like a cat beside a heat lamp that might be powered by memory. The dancers are resting. The flutes no longer play. But if you listen, very, very carefully, you can still hear the hum of the feast. It's distant now, tucked behind your ribs, inside your breath, beneath your skin. You walk, away from the river, toward what comes next. Not quickly, not fearfully, just steadily, like someone who's had a good meal. Someone who's been fed, taught, witnessed, held, and somewhere deep inside you, something glows. The flavor of belonging, the sweetness of release, the spice of not knowing what comes next, and being okay with it. The night folds gently around you. Crickets sing. Air cools. The Nile forgets your name, just enough to set you free. You keep walking, and just as your feet find a path between the reeds, a breeze kisses your cheek. It smells like cumin and fig. And sleep.